To have you guys both. It's a pleasure, an honor to have you guys on the interview again for a second time. And now we're going to be talking about, a little bit about the Popo system, about the school. And I wanted to tell you. I mean, I told you there in person, and I told you through email too. But it was such a great experience having having going through school. All the I mean that those 5 days were so full of eye-opening moments. The stories, you guys' explanations, the the pressure that was part of the school, like the daily tests. The putting the students on the spot, like, hey, get up on the front of the classroom and start talking about this. You got 2 minutes. It was just such a great experience. It was it was a lot of pressure, but it was good. So I loved it. Thank you guys.
Well, that's part of the reason why people must go to silver and can't go to gold without silver, because everybody needs to be able to speak the same language. Because we've had a lot of people who want to skip silver and just come to gold because
Right.
they're accomplished, but we need to all speak the same language.
I'm telling you, it's such a, and I know it seems, and I've had this conversation with, with people who are not NePoPo people, right? And the one hiccup that people sometimes have is, it's only 5 days and you don't have dogs. But it makes perfect sense because the theory alone is it's so in depth that, I mean, it's very beneficial to not have a dog, to just do theory. It's incredibly beneficial to just focus on the note taking and the learning of the language. It's great. I think people look at it as, oh, it's only 5 days and there's no dog, but really it's 5 days of a lot of information that you have to assimilate, and then you have to also, understand. So the whole process, I think, is great. I think even for somebody who has been training those for a long time,
Mhm.
um, just the 5 days of theory are very, very important.
Well, we
So
are now 1 month later. Is your brain settling down, or are you implementing
yes,
things?
yes. From my personal experience, the second I came back, right, and what I was doing too is, after every day of class, what I was doing is I was calling my wife, right? I would get to that hotel, and how I learn things is by writing it down and talking about it. So, every night I would come home, I would talk to my wife, and I'd be like, "All right, babe, this is what we did today. This is, I'm just telling you the stories that we were told, the information that we were told," and it helped me definitely assimilate it more. But also, as I was saying this, as I was saying it a second time, so I was, hearing it in the classroom is one thing, and then as I say it, right, as I'm saying it to my wife, as I'm talking about it, I would have these moments where I was like, oh, that's why that makes sense. That's why with that dog, X dog, 2 months ago or a year ago, that's why that approach that I took created that result, because, the way they explained it, right, it makes so much sense. And I think what I've found for me is I became really good at understanding and learning things. And also, I would have certain techniques to get certain behaviors from dogs, right? I would use certain techniques, and I'd be like, when I do this, I get this result. I like this result, and I'm gonna keep doing this technique. But going through the school, it was like I got the why. I got this is why when you do this technique, that little thing right there happens. And of course, it makes so much more sense as you lay it out, like, you're putting it right in front of you going, this is what happens. It's just a very intellectual, educational experience. That's one of the things that I've been telling people that I've talked to about NePoPo. Or I've had people go, "Hey, how was school?" And the way I describe it is, it's just such an intellectual experience, because you're not thinking, okay, here's the food, here's how you do this, here's the timing. At least that's how I assimilated the week. For my perspective, how I digested it was like that. It was very intellectual. It was very, um, I guess intellectual is the best word I can come up with.
Well, that's also the danger, huh, that it becomes too intellectual. And for that, I have a nice example, and I'm going to use the name.
Yeah.
And the gentleman will not be offended. A few years ago, we had Michael Carpenter at
Mm-hmm.
the Silver School and the Gold School.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael is a gentleman that uses his brains.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first results of his training was the typically brain result. It's very precise, but there is no fire, there is no exploration of the dog. And then 3, 4 years later, the gentleman is on fire on Facebook, and Michael and I see now a totally other approach of the same topics. That means that that gentleman is now ripe for the next step. That means that everything did mature,
Mm-hmm.
it did ripen it, and now he can implement it much better. And you see that the way he approaches it now is a lot of freedom of thinking, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of
Fun.
fun. And there, of course, he will go too far and he will explore the fun side, but he will forget the must do side. But it should still look like
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it means that that gentleman came back for a silver repeat, and that gentleman came back for a silver gold.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael and I did right. The repeat of silver and gold was platinum to you. So we see that people must hear things over and over again, and months later and years later, because it takes about 5 years to turn around all that theory in a
Mm-hmm.
practical working sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Michael and I, because it's about the future of the school, what we do see is that we have a younger and younger public, maybe because we are becoming older and older.
I think that's all it is.
That's
Not
it.
at all. No, you guys are still young.
Well, yes and no, but we see that there is a very, very young public coming, and they are very, very good in the theories. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Because the scores go higher and higher. We see that. So we are amazed to see that. It means that people are better and better prepared, that's for sure. But it's also that younger people still are good in school answering. And
Mm-hmm.
it should not stay school answering neither. So the practical side is very important. And there you need that little hundreds of dogs experience, different types of dogs over different years, that trial and error process. You cannot skip steps.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the future of the school is so difficult to speak about, because, of course, Michael and I are going to stop this formula and we're going to recreate a new formula
Oh,
where,
okay.
yeah, where it will be more, we don't reach enough people. So it's too exclusive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We don't reach enough people, and we are still at the age that we should reach people because we have something to bring in the plate.
Mm-hmm.
We understand very well different techniques and try to explain people all the consequences in all different techniques,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which are very important, and you must respect people in however they do. That's what Michael and I try to preach. And the future will be that Michael and I will do theory for a much bigger quantity of people, students,
Mm-hmm.
not online, because Michael and I, we need the visual contact with people. We need to smell the sweat. We need to see the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we are not the young generation that could teach and learn via the internet.
Mm-hmm.
There is a need for that, but we cannot.
Yeah.
So we are cooking on that. And of course, the big problem will be the practical side. And in the practical side, we are thinking of pushing the clientele towards the existing gold people. And of course, there is then NePoPo by or interpreted by Will Garrido, NePoPo interpreted by Joe Bob,
Mm-hmm.
NePoPo interpreted by Barbara, whatever. So everybody has their accentuation.
Yeah.
The big problem there is, how do we control quality? And then what's very important is that, and now I speak a little bit for the past, is that Michael and I were two individuals that did meet the day that we were both singles. That means that we were both divorced. And by accident, we did in our direction do 100% the same thing. And I was more concentrated on a sport public worldwide. I was going from one rodeo show to the other, where Michael had a very, very successful little business in Bethesda, where she was implementing all the same techniques on the pet dogs over and over and over. So it means at least five, between 5 and 10 a month. And it was amazing to see that two people that never did meet each other before do the same thing. So we were experimenting with pressure, stops, rewarding, and we were both experimenting the trial and error process in the shaping with all the consequences of positive reinforcement and all the consequences of negative reinforcement. So it was fun to see how those two strong brains work together. And due to our backgrounds, we could cook it in a nice, politic, palatable system. And we could speak about it, because you did see we can speak 1 week without having one piece of paper in front of our noses.
Mm-hmm.
By the
Very
way,
impressive.
the last school, you were not there. I think you were there the
I think
second.
it was the second. I thought it was the first one.
Yes.
Maybe it was the
First,
second. I don't remember.
first
The
one.
last school, I had a, how do you call that in English? The first of time in my life, I did not find my words anymore.
Mm.
How do you call that in
A
English?
blackout.
A blackout.
Mm-hmm.
I never had that before. So, and then I realized, it's maybe time that we stop, because I never had blackouts in my life before, never.
Yeah, but
And I could solve it professionally. Say, but I said, hey, I have a blackout. And you're going to have it also to all the people. And that's why you need the bullet points to know exactly where you will start again. And you will remember at a certain point where your blackout was. But there, I realized that how hard it'd be if you are, for example, a rock and roll singer or whatever, and you sing a song and you don't know where you are anymore. That must be brutal. I just said
Mm-hmm.
I never had a blackout in my life, and I had it the last school. So, woo, it was for me a brutal experience. And I'm a good talker, I tell you that.
I have a question for you guys, and I know when we've talked on the phone, I've in the past, I think I brought this up and you gave me a really good explanation for this. But I think it's worth sort of going over it again for some of the audience, because I know this is a certain way I feel about it, and I think Bart, you just touched on it really good when you said, there is my interpretation, right, of NePoPo. There is, so and so's interpretation of NePoPo. And here's the thing: I'm big into books. Like, if I look at a book, then I know that I can interpret what I read in that book a certain way, and so can interpret what they read in the book a certain way. But at the end of the day, the book is not going to lie. Now, what are you guys' thoughts on on that, on the possibility of having some sort of layout that says from both of your perspectives, you know, it basically like you guys writing the cookbook and going, this is what NePoPo is, so that the future generations don't have to worry about, well, I got NePoPo training from Will, and I got NePoPo training from Joris, and I got NePoPo training from so and so. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a difficult thing, and that's part of the reason why we're still in discussions of what's going to happen. But also, I think it's natural because, as we heard an expression lately that says that the eyes only see what the brain knows.
Mm-hmm.
And Will's eyes saw what Will's brain knew
Mm-hmm.
and what you can make sense of. And other people who have a different experience,
Right.
background, they
Yeah.
see from their perspective. And everyone thinks they're right. And that's why you can read a book. And that's why when you go over books in class, even classics,
Mm-hmm.
that people have a totally different view, and you must keep going back. What are the proofs?
Mm-hmm.
What are
Mm-hmm.
the proofs? You see what I
Yeah.
mean? So it is a little bit, and in that way, in order to keep it true, it can't be all feeling. It must be some real things. But
The danger of the book is, Will, that we had a lot of requests for that. And Michael and I, we could write a book, but that would be book number 120,000 in line.
yeah,
And the danger of books is that it becomes too much. They said that. Well, of course, Michael and Bart said that, but that's your interpretation. And
Mm-hmm.
the danger of the cookbook is that people that cannot cook buy a
follow it.
book and start cooking
Yes,
and think they are a chef.
right.
So it is not like that neither. So it means that
And
we
also, we change things
yes
very. Look at,
Right.
as things happen, we
You evolve.
evolve. We
Yeah.
evolve.
it's
Yeah.
We don't teach the same things now that we did 5 years ago,
yeah yeah.
for sure.
For example, the people that were in the school, the NePoPo schools in the beginning, they
Mm-hmm.
saw that our accentuation was a lot on shaping, and that the accentuation was a lot of free thinking.
Mm-hmm.
They did not see that we also implement the command to do.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So you tell the whole thing and you accentuate everything, but they take something out that is for them very specifically.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
that's amazing to see how what Michael says, that the brain only catches what the eye already know, that the eyes only do see what the brain already knows.
But also with our experience, and we knew what people were catching and what people were commonly missing. You see what I mean? We
Mm-hmm.
changed
Yeah.
our emphasis because we only have to emphasize it a little bit, but we know that people will glom onto it. So then we say, be careful now. So experience is so important.
So what we did see is that in the beginning of our NePoPo schools, too much people did think that it was forbidden by law to lure a dog. Well, it's not forbidden. Luring a dog is a very well-known classical system that works very well. But you must also know the other side, which is let the dog find out. And you must experiment in both techniques. And that's quite important that people
Yes.
try to learn that, you know. So try to come and learn yourself, open yourself for the techniques where you're not good at. You must
Mm-hmm.
not come to become better in what you are already good at. Try to become better in a thing that you are not at all good at. So it will make you stronger and stronger and stronger. It's like, for example, Michael and I did purchase a fantastic dog in Belgium a few months ago, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Tom is extreme food driven, extreme prey driven, extreme good biter. He does not see the environment, he does not see it because he's so on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that good dog is a problem for most dog trainers. And just now he starts to become free thinking without doing dumb shit. In the beginning, when you gave him freedom, he was going in jail immediately because he did do all the things that are not allowed. So, so it's amazing to see how you non-stop must change into your training systems and add a little bit baby stuff that the dog did not learn. And you know, we don't have a dagger on our throat. The job must be finished.
Mm-hmm.
We have the dog as long as we want, and we have fun with him. By the way, you remember that he was peeing in his kennel and his crate?
Yes. Yeah.
That shit is over. So we did put the hot wire around the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
We did hear him twice and never did hear him again. And now he can pee and he can poo where he has to do. But he was always used to do whenever he does it. So Michael and I, we like a modern dog that is clean, that does not stink, that is brushed. And yes, if you receive an animal that was grown up in the wild bush, or what can we say? I mean, the dog doesn't know what's good or not good. But
Mm-hmm.
it was not working with only nice, positive methods. We had to put aversive stim on the thing. So, I mean, it's amazing. And he became a totally other dog due to that. Now he pays attention, he looks to me, he's begging. He never did that. So, but we have him now 6 months. We don't have him 1 week. Because if you have him 1 week, the only thing you can do is give pressure, pressure stops, and now you get your extra reward. Is it a piece of art? No. It's just basic training. But dogs can do much more. And that's what we like to tell people, you know. So, and that's why Michael's bitch, it's such a nice little animal, you cannot believe. So
She is. Yeah,
it's
she is so level-headed, so nice.
yeah, and it's fun to have dogs like that. And
Yeah.
once you have dogs like that, you think in yourself, why are not all dogs trained like that?
Mm-hmm.
It's so fun, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But the future of the school is so important to us because at the end, it's also a big, big, big business model. Because Michael and I could say instead of NePoPo, we could say it's a manager's training because we train people to become managers. Consequences for doing, consequences for not doing. And a lot of managers from very big companies should learn basic consequences again.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all we do in our company, basic consequences, because we don't use too much complicated manager theory, just dog training that we implement on people, but on human scale. And it
And
works.
be as involved as you need to, but not too involved. Like
Mm-hmm.
be do
Yeah.
just as much as needed.
Yes, yes, yes,
One
yes,
one big thing that I got out of school.
yes, yes. And make sure that the whole thing works without you being there. That's the
Mm-hmm.
whole point. So it's like Michael's dog, you can leave her alone. She will do nothing. She will do no dumb shit because she learned to do in her free time. She learned to not abuse the free time. And you see what I mean? So it's a dog that fits in the whole thing. And the other guy, you leave him in the house, you come back after 5 minutes, you say, where's my television? Where are my doors? So the whole, well, typically, huh? And if you work with people, it's the same. If you work with people, you must be able to go away. Otherwise, it's hard to train them. It's hard to work with them. What can I say?
Well, it's a little bit like going back to Michael Carpenter again. He just got a new puppy, and he's laying foundations in very broad strokes. A little bit of this, a little bit of food in the box, a little bit of sniff work, a little bit of finding, a little bit. So he's making the attitude, and the dog is finding everything, building confidence in themselves, problem solving. So it's very inspirational and making the attitude of the dog what he wants later instead of just doing luring and
Yeah.
following.
Instead of
And
Make the dog,
micromanaging.
yeah, instead of micromanaging, exactly.
Right.
Instead
Right.
of micromanaging so that the dog totally needs him to do everything,
Yes.
he's making it so that it's very impressive to see
and
it.
and of course, well, you know that in the business you don't always have time to train a dog like that. In the business, you have the time clock against you.
Mm-hmm.
You only have 2 or 3 weeks to perform. You cannot go in that way. It's impossible. It's what we teach in the school. In the school, we say, well, you need so much repetitions. You must go
Mm-hmm.
negative reinforcement, and at the end, you give food, basic food, and
Mm-hmm.
that works, which is NePoPo. But it's not a piece of art that you will give, and you will give back the owner a dog that is well controllable,
Mm-hmm.
dog that is controllable, and that's very important. So, and in a minimum of time, you do a maximum of job done, because that's
Yeah.
all thing that you must be able to do as a dog trainer. What is the type of dog I have? What is the time frame I have to go to the basic behaviors, which is pet dog training, and so on and so on. And then, are my clients able to control which type of dog? Because not everybody can control a dog that Will Garrido can control, or that Michael
Right.
can control, or that I can control. So I'm always amazed to see, and it makes Michael and me happy. My daughter is back in business, so Ines is training dogs again, and I
Nice.
see, yes,
And her
Nice.
husband too.
and her husband is on fire
Nice.
also. Yeah, 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 yeah. So
Nice.
it makes us very happy. And I already know the result of the dogs that Ines makes. So Ines makes very innovative, creative dogs. And then they must come in the hands of a person like me that squeeze the last 5%. And then you have the fantastic performing dog that is innovative, creative, works on cue. It's a fantastic dog, but you must be able to do that last 5%. I cannot do the first 95%.
Well,
I'm not good at that.
that's why it's hard to, to be. It's like in the talent code when they talk about the master
Mm-hmm.
coach. It's different depending on where you are in the spectrum of the dog's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Bart's speciality is that last part,
Yes.
and Enos's speciality is that first part,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
And the thing is that you can't train a dog that's a little puppy the way that Bart does the last 5%. You can't do that. And you can't do the last 5% the way Enos trains her little puppies. You see what I mean? So when one
Mm-hmm.
person has the dog for the life of the dog, that's another speciality that you're able to switch gears and
Yeah.
be, you let the little puppy be naughty and
Mm-hmm.
steal things, and you see what I mean? And that you're able to tighten that up as it goes.
Yeah.
One big thing that I got out of the school too is, when I was learning how to train dogs, and this is sort of the theme as I was, learning and progressing in my dog training career was, this constant advice, and I myself have been guilty of giving the same advice, which is, make sure it's always perfect, right? Make sure it's always perfect, and don't let the dog mess up, and don't let the dog mess up, and there's certainly some value to that, and it made sense from a perspective then. But then, again, going back to that very philosophical, intellectual week, at Silver, where you guys encouraged mistakes. Not that you set up the dog for failure, that's different, but the liberty to just, the freedom to just say, these are the options. You can choose those options, right?
But
And
also,
that has been great,
but it's like
to hear that.
it's like learning a language too. At first, you make a lot of mistakes, but it's the speaking that's the most important part.
Hmm.
It's the speaking, and if you are always correcting, always correcting, always correcting, there's no more speaking.
Right. That's where we go to the micromanaging
Yes,
versus,
yes.
here are your
So once they
perimeters.
speak well, and once everything is, then you can, and once they like to speak, then you can tighten it up. But in the beginning, you see, the beginning coach has a totally different job.
That's one thing that I can definitely see myself implementing a little bit more with my club dogs, in my protection club, is when we do scenarios, especially with PSA level 2 stuff, there are surprise scenarios. So sometimes we come up with scenarios right there on the spot. And we had club today, and one of our club dogs, one of our club members, we set up a new scenario, and we could have made it super, super impossible for the dog to fail. But we're like, you know what? Let him sort of figure it out, and just let him work it out. Let him be independent and let him work it out. Obviously, the dog worked it out. It was a successful session. But the me, maybe even a year ago, I would have been like, even months ago, I've been like, no, no, let's make it perfect. Let's make it so that it is 100% successful. Whereas now, I feel like I got permission and encouragement to go, no, it's okay for the dog to screw up a little bit. Let him make the choices and let him sort of learn through self-exploration, which is one of the big things that I got at Silver. So that was a different concept that I think a lot of dog trainers don't hear enough.
Well, it's like the classic school says, pressure only stops at perfection, and extra reward only comes, the positive reward, at perfection. I was thinking like you in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But the more older I become, and the same with Michael, the more we love that little trial and error. We like them to make their own wrong choices.
Mm-hmm.
But their wrong choice should not be gratifying. It should not
Mm-hmm.
making them happy. You see what I mean?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
important, because if the wrong choice is run behind the cats and they can
Mm-hmm.
kill the cats and become a
Yeah.
cat killer, that's not what we
No,
want.
no, no.
Right.
You
Right.
see what I
Right.
mean? But it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I come out of a variable game like PSA. I come out of ring sport. In ring sport, we also have the same scenarios of the day. And in the old days, we also were thinking like, the dog can only do very and must very fast do what we tell him to do. That means in the jumping, we did put big fences beside the jumps that the dog could not go around. And the jump was lower so that the dog could only take the easy solution. Now we leave it open and we tell the dog, well, if you go around, there will be no food, for example. And why is there no food? Because you don't hear a click. And later, when he goes around, he will feel the little discomfort, tap, 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 on very low levels,
Mm-hmm.
and so on, and so on. And slowly the dog will manage into a very confident jumper. But you can only become a very confident jumper by making the mistakes. The same thing. In the old days, we did put a piece of wood away, and our dog had to search with the nose, and scent identification was the exercise. And of course, we had no clue what we were doing, so we did put nails in all the wrong piece of wood so that the dog did feel instead of
Smelling.
smelling. And later
Mm.
we verbally cued no, no, no when he was wrong. And later we did not verbally cue, we did tap on wrong. All the bullshit we did. We don't do that anymore,
Right.
because even by tapping the bottom, the dog feels he's wrong. And then instead of sniffing, he's feeling wrong, wrong, wrong. He feels
Mm.
nothing, that means I'm right.
Right.
So, and certainly in the scent work, and scent work is a beautiful thing. But to go back to the school, Michael and I gonna change the formula.
It's not decided yet, so
It's
don't
not
ask us. So don't ask us what it is
it's
because we
not
don't
No,
know.
decided
we'll
yet.
wait.
A
I'll
big
stay
mystery,
tuned.
a big missing link will be the hospitality from Jackie and her team, because we know that that is, I don't say 50%, but it's a lot of success of the school. People breakfast together, lunch together, dinner together, have 1, 2 drinks together, sitting on the campfire together. It's a very important part of bonding that we cannot copy on bigger scale. It's impossible. So that we do lose that linking, networking, that typically sympathy of
I see what you're saying.
together. So that's
Yeah.
the point where we are still cooking on. Maybe it will be in a big hotel where people could sit together. We still don't know. We still don't know. And then we are thinking of inventing games on virtual world, which is very expensive. We cannot specify more, but we think that we have the baggage, the luggage to create it. We just have to find designers that can make what we think. And then you speak very fast in a budget that normal people cannot pay, and even for us, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to pay.
It's like minimum 500,000 euros.
Yeah.
Minimum. That's not even for everything. That's like for the
That
first
is.
level.
And basic design, and so that people, and especially people from all over the world, can go to the NePoPo games, positive reinforcement, NePoPo game, negative reinforcement, double reinforcement, and then they will be pushed to higher scales. And then, for example, at a certain point, the system will tell them, hey, you're ready now, please go and find the NePoPo Gold trainer, and so on and so on. So we are cooking something like that.
But you see, a lot of people really learned a lot from doing the role games at the school.
Oh yeah, yeah. Doing it and just watching it but like you said earlier, like being there, smelling, seeing,
Yeah.
the reaction of the person, the watching the person struggle, all of those subtle things that are very, very important.
Hey, by the way, do you remember the e-color fuck-up from your school?
Yes.
You know what? The last school did do it in 45 minutes.
And they solved the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
45 minutes. We were so amazed. It was not fun to watch it then anymore. We have no fun anymore.
Yeah.
Because the biggest fun we have is, as you know, we have the cameras there. We were sitting in front of the television and we were laughing our asses off how people start to act, But the last class, it was no fun at all. Ting, 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 like machine guns, they went through it.
That is insane.
Yeah. It was the first class ever, though.
Yeah, the first class.
First class ever. It was the last class.
And the people that did know did not help. Because the husband of my daughter is very good at that. He did not help.
Right.
And my daughter knows the e-color very well. She did not help. There were a few other people that know very well that did not help. So it came out of other sides. So we were very impressed. Yeah. Yeah, very impressed.
That is interesting.
There was even a person that scored 100%. Can you imagine that on the theory?
You told me that 100%.
100%. I'm telling him, my God.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
Well,
that's impressive.
I remember him. I think he was the third student I asked to the front to speak. The bullshit, as you know, we always ask. And he's good in bullshit.
Very good.
he's a good bullshitter.
Well, he's a speaker.
He's a professional speaker. I did not know that.
Yeah, he's a professional speaker, and it shows.
That's impressive. Yeah.
I think the gentleman has 3 million followers.
Yeah.
And he doesn't.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
But I did not know it.
He's a celebrity.
I said, hey, you're good. You're born to do this.
Right.
And he's like, well, I get paid to do it.
Holy. Who was it? Not Tony Robbins, right?
No. We will not name his name because we don't know.
I get it.
It's okay. Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, there is people that are bloody good.
Yeah,
bloody good.
Yeah, he is really good.
And then my daughter came to me, and my daughter was never good at the school. And she said to me, Daddy, I hate him. He's so good. I hate him. That's her way to be pissed that somebody's better, you know. And there I
Right, right.
recognized my old little Ines. I said, well, 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 well. The apple is not falling far from the tree. But she
In
doesn't
a
mean it like that, eh?
joke.
She
Yeah,
doesn't
she
mean it
just
like
meant
that. Eh?
she was very impressed with him.
Yes,
She was
yes,
That's
very
yes.
awesome.
She
impressed with him.
said,
That's
how
awesome.
can you do that?
How?
She said.
Yeah, it was.
She
Yeah,
said, yeah, Ines, some people are very, very good at answering questions and
and
speaking and
but he was very good in the role games.
yeah,
Also,
in
he was
everything.
good in everything, and listening and speaking and understanding what he said and
Just
saying
all
it back
around
to.
smart guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, we did even hear that instead of watching television at their place, they played role games every day, the whole family. Can you imagine that?
Mm,
To create active brains, to create that problem solving thing. It's amazing
that, yeah.
that that gentleman implements that. And then he told me, and Michael and I do that. When you have a lot of dogs, you want them to pee on command
Hmm.
when you walk them. So, and a lot of dogs, they learn when I pee, I must go back in my kennel. And that's why
Hmm.
they don't pee, and
mm-hmm.
that's why
Yes.
they don't poo. And that's
Yeah.
why Michael and I, when the dog drinks, we count how many times, how many licks he drinks. So if a dog licks 100 licks of water and pees only 2 seconds, there is something wrong. That dog must minimum pee 30 or 40 seconds. One, two, three, even on two, three different.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that gentleman said, well, if my dog is not peeing, I tap the button on the lowest level to make him pee. And I said, well, we do that since 20, 30 years. And our mothers, they do the same. When I was a little kid, my mother told me, hey, Bart, did you pee? Allez, I want to see it, pee, pee.
Yeah.
And the same mothers do with the little guy must poo on the little, what do you call that, the little potty.
Hmm.
When the whole family went for travel, Bartje, did you pee? Yeah, let me see. Did you poo? Yeah, let me see. No, nothing. I come on.
Yeah.
Mothers did do it and still do it today. Why
Mm-hmm.
can we not do it with dogs?
Right.
But on low
Of course.
levels, it's hey, you must, but
But
it's not.
It's like a go. Come on.
It's
yeah,
like,
Go.
come
Pe-
on.
yes,
yeah.
Yes,
yes,
come on,
Yeah.
let's go, let's
yes.
go.
But people lose their see. People will lose. Some people lose their minds over that. Over the idea of doing that.
Well,
Right, right.
can I?
Well, then they see people who do it too high, and then of course it comes back in instead of going out.
Yeah.
One thing that I really liked about the end of the really the entire week, but one thing that struck me was, I went into school thinking, oh, this is, I'm gonna learn this, and this is gonna become like this one system that I'm gonna be really really glued to. But the one thing that I really liked and I found very, very powerful was when Michael said towards the end of the week, I think it was Friday, when she said, you know, other systems can work too. We're not saying anything against any other system. Other systems can work too if you know what you're doing. And also prior to that, also one of the things that you guys told us was, if this doesn't work, if shaping doesn't work, then you can do this. You can do the old NePoPo, right? And also, if the dog is not eating, one thing that Michael said too is, if the dog is not eating, you can't just starve the dog. Then at that point, it's abuse.
Yes.
And so, what I really liked about it was, the message that I got was, you know, this is the system, but it's not basically, it's not religion. There are different approaches that are good. And I like that it wasn't very polarizing. I like that it was very, yeah, this system works, but look, that guy doing it over there their way, that works for them. And if they're happy, then we're happy, which is what I think sometimes people think the opposite about NePoPo. Some people that don't know about NePoPo think, oh, it's the Kool-Aid. You're gonna drink the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. But there was no Kool-Aid about it. It was very, this is the system. But look, that guy doing it his way, that's been doing it for a while, he's successful and he's happy, and that works great. Just like you guys were saying earlier, luring, you can lure. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So it was good to hear that from from both of you, that it was it. I'm having a hard time explaining it.
Well,
You
it's
know,
whatever works for you and your dog. That's the
right.
most important thing. It's not there's not a recipe, there's not a one size fits all. It's you have to see and feel and
Well, they ask us
experiment.
a lot of times, how do you learn healing? Well,
With what dog?
with what dog? We have
We
so
have a
Mm-hmm.
many.
lot of different ways to learn healing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the way Bart is teaching healing to Tom is
Oh,
different than I taught healing to Jack. It's different how we do it with other dogs. So,
I we should put the camera on the work with Tom to show people how to open the maximum capacity of a dog. But it's dangerous work that I do there. So we don't want to go in publicity, because if we do one mistake, and it's not because the dog wants to bite us, but he's so brutal, and he would snap your finger in prey, not in aggression.
right.
Mm-hmm.
He wants his prey, and if you make one mistake, woof, you have a big problem. But it's, of course, it's a special way of working that dog, because all the rest is not too much his thing, and you must waking up a little bit with a bamboo, bam, 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 and then he starts to really wake up. But you must
Mm-hmm.
know how to kick him gently.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another type of dog. So, and if you do that with a normal dog, they run away. But if you work with him with the classic methods of rewarding, I give you one kibble, he falls asleep. He doesn't care.
Like Ragnar.
Ragnar was the same. So, and you must understand, one dog is not another, and that's why. And as you know, from profession, I was a sport teacher years ago. France, which is not Belgium, France had, and they still have, a fantastic soccer team, and they became world champ, of course, with fantastic players like Zinedine Zidane. But the trainer was a certain Emile Jacquet, and Emile Jacquet had a psychological profile from every player. In those days, that was unique, and he knew exactly. Lizarazu was the left winger. It was a nice family guy, not to speak with him 5 minutes, and how's your wife, and how are your kids? 5 minutes social talking, and the guy was playing. And then there were other players that you had to put on the bench. Don't play. And just the big game, you say, hey, big mouth on the field, show what you can. So, it was very interesting to see what the psychological game the trainer did play with his players. But he became world champ.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's fantastic. So, and it's a little bit NePoPo. It's a psychological game with your dog. Huh? You,
Right.
it's like the game we play with the students.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole
Mm-hmm.
NePoPo game. It's a
Mm-hmm.
psychological game that's
Uh,
going on in the school. Eh? It's brutal. And at the end,
Come
it's
on, you do
brutal.
that.
It's brutal to
it.
see how people take the sufferances. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
folks, the men must go on the porta potty. Ta-da-dee,
Well,
ta-da-da.
there's one lady this one lady, she wrote to me. She said when she got to the school, she was like, I was thinking to myself, I paid for this. I paid
Yeah.
for this suffering. And
Well,
I
she's like,
remember. I remember when I got there, and on day one, you guys were like, "There's going to be a test every day," and then you were like, "And Friday, there's going to be a final written test, and the minimum score has to be 90." And when you guys said that, I was immediately like, I was like, "Wow, this is serious." And
well,
then the
it's the
very
way.
first time that you called something, you were like, randomly, you get up on the front of the in front of the classroom, talk about this for 2 minutes, and like every day, I was like, "Oh my God, what if next time it's me?" I was like, oh my God, like the next test, and I need to get ready for this test. And, and it makes sense, that little bit of pressure definitely makes you a little bit sharper. It makes you go, I really have to pay attention here. You can't just sit here and enjoy the week. You're enjoying it, but you have to you have
You're
to be
not really
sharp.
enjoying it. You didn't really
I
enjoy
enjoyed it.
it.
I enjoyed it. Like Friday, I was like, I can't believe it's over. I really was. I was like so sad when it was Friday.
What people must remember out of this is that
You must have a whip.
in teaching, you need a whip. Without whip, it becomes holiday on ice party.
Right. There's no
People,
seriousness.
people come too late. There's no seriously. They come and just have fun. It's
And
Yeah,
also important, but you must go home with knowledge also. Eh?
yeah,
And it's trying to find that perfect balance between discipline and freedom of thinking, concentration, motivation.
and
That's what it is about.
yes, it's the exactly. It's getting that perfect balance.
one thing that I found kind of funny too is, and I feel bad putting him on the spot saying this, but I remember this one day. I think it was day 2 or day 3. One of the students was like really late, like really late. Forgot his name, but he walks in, right, and it's in the middle of something. I forget. I think Michael, you were trying to work
Questions?
on the you were trying to work on the food dispenser with we're trying to figure that out. So he walks in and he's like really late, right? He walks in and I'm thinking, wow, it must be embarrassing for him to walk in when everybody's quiet. And Michael looks at him and he goes, "Welcome." And I thought, oh, that was definitely a bit of a whip right there. It was a nice subtle
Well,
a nice subtle whip on for being late.
you're gonna
And
you're
obviously,
gonna you're
I
gonna
get it,
see
things
that they
happen,
will. You're gonna see
but
that
it,
they will. That to manage a group, you
sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
back in town.
Okay. It looks like our our celebrity student who speaks so well was watching.
Oh, nice.
We'll see if he makes himself known, but
Ah, very nice guy.
he's really nice. Yeah.
Sounds like a nice guy.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, sorry, you were saying that when you manage a large group of people, there must be rules. I think
Yes,
that's where we left off.
Yeah.
it's very important, and we learned that over the years that you, what Michael and I do in the old days, it was going every week from one seminar to the other. It's a type of entertainment where seminar hoppers come and enjoy the day.
And there you can't put too many rules because there's no whip and
It was not easy to control that,
no,
and it gives a lot of
no,
stress.
yes.
And by doing the NePoPo school, by implementing rules, the society becomes much easier for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody knows exactly this are the hours where we work, these are the free time moments, and
Hmm.
it's the job from Michael and me to catch people during the work because as a teacher, you must be a catchy person. If you lose
Hmm.
students, you do something wrong. And that's why we like so much live on stage. That means that you see immediately when somebody is fading away,
Falling asleep,
falling asleep,
bored with what you're saying.
and you don't see that if you come with a PowerPoint presentation with your back to the people. You don't
Hmm.
see in the dark who falls asleep. You miss a little
Hmm.
bit that interaction. And the same thing you can have on online coaching on a whole group. You don't see who's picking his nose. You don't see all that.
Hmm.
Where in that group, you non-stop can watch it and you have a very good feedback.
Hmm.
Anyway, the whole topic was the future of the school. So Mike and I are working very hard on that concept, and we don't go over one night of ice. If needed, we will bring 1 year or 2 years of break. But when we come with something, it will be something where our input will be the theory and the practical work will go to the existential gold people where we must find,
Maybe it'll just be workshops, for example.
yep, where we must
May not
find.
be a school anymore.
Mm.
And in a free market economy where if Will does a good job, people will come back.
Mm-hmm.
And if Will does not do a good job, people will not come back. And if Will does a good job, but is not very people minded, people will not come back neither. So the profile of that person is quite unique, you know?
And the
Mm-hmm.
thing is yeah, so it's also people are going to be looking at our website for people who teach NePoPo because they want to learn NePoPo.
Mm-hmm.
So if you teach something else, but you have a NePoPo, see what I mean? Then it's a little bit problematic.
You cannot believe how many questions we receive to continue teaching. You cannot believe.
I can imagine. I mean,
Yes, it's a
people are very interested.
well, the future of the school. We are working on that, and that's Michael and I that cook something together with our business advisors. So we have very good
Mm-hmm.
business advisors. They are great people, and we never go over one night of ice. And the same thing is the future of the company, the company marketing system. And that's another topic, which is a very strong and unique project when the school and the Martin System company stay together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very unique profile where big truck companies are dreaming about. Because I remember that in the old days, I was a pro staff for the Inotech brand, Inotech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Inotech, a company that has been sold to radio systems. And in those days at Inotech, we had pro staffs. And pro staffs were people that were more than just product endorsers. They were also telling the nice theory about dog training. So we had a good team of very motivated people. But at the end, I remember the sales manager, Steve Gill, we had no budget. And I said, Steve, we need a budget. He said, Bart, people are going to pay for knowledge. I said, are you kidding me? Well, you guys must understand this in Europe. People don't pay for knowledge. A
They don't pay
school,
for school. School's
you
free.
don't pay for school.
Mm.
So Americans have a payment mindset to go to school. Europeans.
Right.
Right.
So me as a European, I was thinking, huh? People paying for knowledge about dog training. That's not possible. And I did not believe that. But slowly I did implement it. And yes, even Europeans were paying for knowledge. I was nearly falling down from my chair by seeing that. And slowly it did grow. So the whole world now is ready for paying for dog training. And what
Mm-hmm.
dog trainers generally must understand is that they work for a public that can pay. Because the owner that has a dog that is not behaving, that owner works. And that owner has no time to train their own dog. And that's why they need a professional. So
Mm-hmm.
what dog trainers must understand is that they should not be cheap. They should do the best job they can, and that their customers do have money.
And they should be customer oriented.
Very customer
Oriented.
oriented, and there is
Give the best service and do the best job and be in the animal welfare and
Mm-hmm.
absolutely where it's a win-win where the
Yeah.
customer has their advantage and the person has their advantage. That's the
Yes.
best. That's the best. And that a little bit goes back to the school with us setting up a future school is that, Bart and I are older and we do not want to be, we don't want to do inspections. We don't want to be supervisors. We don't want to be cops. We don't want to police things. We don't want it. We don't want that. That's why we never had seminars with anyone else. We like to do our own thing. And it becomes hard to control when you have so many people and they have their own opinions and they have their own da 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 da. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yeah.
don't want to get into that. So that's why it's been nice. We teach the school, we teach the silver, we teach the gold. You go home. What you know and what you say is your business. It may
Mm-hmm.
not be what we say. It may be what we say. We don't know, but we don't have to check. It's not our
Right.
responsibility, and we don't want to take that on. Because some people
and,
do and some people don't. I mean,
and at the end, it's the public that is your judge, huh? If you do something well, people come back. And if there's something wrong, people stay away. It's easy like that.
mm-hmm,
The
Mm-hmm.
end consumer is not stupid.
mm-hmm. And it
Well,
depends who your consumer is too.
you have Bob Marley that did sing a song. You can fool some people sometimes. You cannot fool all the people all the time. It's a very strong sentence,
Mm-hmm.
So the end consumer is not stupid.
No,
Even when they don't know dog training, don't think that they are stupid.
no.
And they evaluate and they value that you are picking up the dog with a nice card, that you bring the dog, that you go to the vet with the dog, that you do a veterinary check at picking up and bringing back the whole halalalala.
People want to see their dogs well taken care of. You being very honest with them,
Mm-hmm.
and their dog returning with a happy attitude to do
Yes.
what they're supposed to do. That's what people want.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a big, big, big future for dog training, professional dog trainers. The market is so big you cannot believe. And people should, of course, be in competition with each other by trying to do a better job, not by trying to be cheaper. Because if you're dirty cheap, you cannot make you cannot live. So it's you need a good living as a dog trainer because it's a very hard profession, and if you take too many dogs and you want to do it very well, it's a 24 non-stop job, 7 on 7, 30 on 30, 365 days a year.
Mm-hmm.
So you must find the balance between a certain quantity of dogs and a quality of training that you can do. Because, of course, they don't pay for 1 year. So you
Mm-hmm.
try to find a nice balance there. And that's what Michael and I try to teach people. Hey, I think that before we are boring to the
People.
people,
I'm
what,
having a good time.
well, it's important. I don't know if you did see that I did post little things about Bitework. And that's my little battle horse. I know something about Bitework.
Mm-hmm.
And there maybe we're going to do something in the future because a bite is not a bite and an out is not an out. And these are things that people should learn. And there, for the moment, there is a lot of mumbo jumbo going around, which we don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I'm senile. I can still bring something in the plate about bite work because people must understand that there is difference between barking and barking, and that there is a hobby person that likes to go in competition well. That hobby person must be able to control the level of training they can control. The dog can do better, but can people do better? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
So the message is be careful training dogs in aggression. Be careful. Be careful, be careful. Be careful by making dogs biting in aggression because you must still be able to out them and to control them.
Mm-hmm.
It's yes. So it's so nice and there we should do something. I still don't know what, but there the experience could bring a lot. A lot. And I see so much things where I think, my God, would you tell them that?
Right.
And then what I'm always amazed to see is that beginners always want to go to the most flashy things immediately. It's like
Yes. Yes.
they want to be the black belt karate, but they don't want to be the white belt. They don't want to be yellow belts. They don't want to be the green belt or whatever. They immediately want to do the black belt, the deadly kicks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that. It's a slow evolution. And it's already hard enough to control a dog in prey.
Mm-hmm.
It's already hard enough. And there's so much things that we could speak about and maybe another podcast one day because there we give everything we have and scent identification, the big future. Nose work and bite work.
Mm-hmm.
and let's speak. And that's things where Michael and I like to speak about. For example, I remember we did sell a dog, and the name was Bart der Niederlande, Flip, and that dog became twice DVG champ. And that dog was trained on a dog trophy, barking, healing, everything. And the whole German population was laughing. What are those idiots doing? Until the idiots that did buy the dog were on the highest pedestal and they were winning. And then, what people must understand is that, of course, it starts in prey, but when dogs and play, but when dogs don't receive the rewards that they are used, they start to be pissed, frustration,
Which we talked about at school.
Mm-hmm.
aggression will come,
Yeah.
and there you are working in aggression by not doing
Giving.
reactive aggression. The aggression
Right.
is coming out of the dog when the dog is ready for it. And these are things that we should like to tell the whole world, but that's maybe another podcast, okay?
We tried a little bit to talk about that at the school, but it's more of a practical work.
It's like
Yeah, we can set something up for sure. It could be a series, whichever way you guys want to do it.
it's like if you watch and my preferred exercise from the Dutch program, the KNPV, is the barking on the box.
Mm-hmm.
The dogs are barking on that thing with so much aggression, and that box is not whipping the dog one time. That
Mm-hmm.
dog, that box is not moving one time. The box is not nothing. How can that stupid box attract the dog so much? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very interesting point to see dogs barking for more than 2 minutes on a piece of wood that does not move with the aggression that you never see. That you say, whoa,
Their eyes popping out of their head.
that's training. And
Yes.
that's what
Yes.
you must analyze. And that's fun to understand.
Instead of
Recently,
instead of the
recently,
cheeky cheeky cha, right?
yes, well, the Chiki Chiki Chaka, it's, I call it karate kung fu online. It's very nice to watch, but at the end, it's not effective. And if you make people happy, it's okay. At the end, it's okay. I have no problem with that. I, as a young guy, was also liking the moves. But the older you become, the more you say, I think that were moves for the movie industry instead of being for the dog industry. But it's very interesting to see that evolution of those dogs barking on that box.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Maybe we'll show that.
If you analyze that, you say, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
what do we do with our dogs that we cannot copy that? And that's an old technique that still works very well. So, how can dogs bark 2 minutes non-stop on a piece of wood in the woods with an aggression from another planet? And then when you call them off, they are so pissed that you call them off that they like to do re-aggression on handler. And if you come too close to that box, there is competition on the box, and they say, whoa, you boss, stay away from my box, and so on and so on. If you analyze that, then you understand a lot of spontaneous aggression coming out of frustration,
Hi, Gabriel.
and it's fantastic. So that's what we should like to bring in the pot and the outing. It's like recently I had a friend calling me and saying, hey, Bart, Michael, we have a dog, uh, USA police dog, that by searching for marijuana and we put different boxes, the dog is attacking the boxes. What can we do? He said, well, what's the background of the dog? And then it seems that there was KNPV training on the dog. And of course, they learn that and they bite in it viciously.
I have
Because,
seen dogs like that
of
that
course,
do
of
send
course,
detection that were imported from Holland.
of course,
That yeah,
of
yeah.
course. We call that uncontrolled aggression. But that's the training that brings to that. And if you don't know that, you say, huh, what's going on here? And
Mm-hmm.
there, the experience that we have can help a lot. So it's like the old doctor that sit on his chair in the old days when you went to a doctor. They said don't smoke, but they were smoking big cigars and they were telling you don't drink, and they were having a zip on their whiskey in their when they were practicing. But you came in the door, and the way you looked to them, they said, "Well, you need vitamin D," and that it's that little experience over 10,000 times deja vu.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing that is very important in dog training is that working different types of dogs, working different types of dogs. For example, in the last school, we had a service dog that was with this gentleman and doesn't move, a typically service dog. And the gentleman asks us, should we bring that dog to the gold school? Well, that dog can be brought to the gold school if that gentleman opens the other side of the dog. That means that
Mm-hmm.
the service jacket goes off.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And with another cue, we now do fun work
Right.
Mm-hmm.
because a dog needs to have a balance in the life, but the owner must understand that if he cues his dog to be a service dog, it's
Mm-hmm.
don't move, don't move, and only move when needed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, dogs should be a little bit dog also.
Yes.
So when you take the work jacket off, there should be maybe a little bit free time that a dog find the balance in the head. I don't know. That gentleman can come with the school with that dog if he's prepared to open the other side of the dog. Otherwise, he's losing his time.
Right.
We cannot make a better service dog out of that
Mm-hmm.
dog. You see what I mean? He already
Mm-hmm.
does it perfectly. You must, as a good student, you must try to open the sides where you're not so good at. Try to be open for, hey, now I must open my other side. It's like people are very good in clicker training. Perfect. Consequences for doing, consequences for not doing. Good. You're good at that. Now try to become a good negative reinforcement trainer. Try to understand that. And now you're good at that. Now you combine the
And
both systems.
and have harmony at the
Yes,
same time.
of
That's
course. For example, I'm a guy from the old school. I'm very, very, very good at negative reinforcement. Very good. And negative reinforcement can become a reinforcer of the command and it can become a correction in the same language. So, me, 15 years ago, I opened the site I was not good at because it was the positive reinforcement training. And that's very powerful also. So you can only become better by opening the sites that you are not good at or that you did not know about. Because for me, it was more we were not informed because
Mm-hmm.
positive training was for sissies. So, and we did not understand it. So it was against
Yeah.
our mother language. But that's what we try to tell everybody. Try to open the site that you are not used to. Otherwise, coming to the school to do what you're good at, hey,
right.
Right.
fine.
What's the point? Right.
Well, we can make you 1 or 2% better, but what's the point? Try to hate. Try to open the sites on which you are not good at,
Right.
and so on and so
Well,
on.
in your whole life, and in training your dog, it's the same thing. To get that foundation, the whole thing, you have to not just work at what the good dog is good at, not just do healing all day, but now you do jumping. Maybe he's not so good at jumping, or maybe he's not so good at biting, or maybe he's not so good at finding.
For example, what we could do is we give Tom, our new dog, to one of our students that will come and tell him, and we have a guy in our mind, and tell him, learn Tom to track IGP with the indirect reward of the food machine. Okay? He reacts very well. So we're gonna supercharge that machine, and that gentleman can do that with that dog. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Then say,
Mm-hmm.
whoa. So these are things that people must learn. People are good in tracking by putting food in every step. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're gonna track without food in every step. Now we do indirect reward. Click rewards you, and so on and so on. Try. Don't be afraid. And if you fuck up the dog, well, it's Tom, our dog, no problem. He is unfuckable. I mean, what do you do wrong by tapping the dude button wrong? No problem. No problem. So that's what we try to tell people. Another lady, and we're going to name her name, Antonia Mergova, is doing fantastic work. We remember that lady coming at the school. She had special dogs that nobody wants. If you see how far she brings those dogs, it's amazing. Is it the highest
Yeah.
sport level? No, it's not. but we know where the dogs are coming from. It's fantastic what she does. And then we see the evolution that that lady does in 3 years' time, the way that she thinks. So we are watching and we
Mm-hmm.
follow from far, but
But
that
she has
makes us,
imagination.
yes, yes, and she dares to do,
Right.
and it makes her, and she dares to do mistakes, and she dares to show mistakes to the whole world. It's fantastic. It's
That's
fantastic.
ballsy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, and we don't like to name people too much, but these two people that we did just named were people that over the years became better and better by turning the page and by becoming another type of trainer. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Evolving.
I
Yeah.
think, Will, that we must close. Otherwise, we sit here and we everybody falls asleep
Like old people.
like old people. That we don't see that everybody's asleep. Uh, whenever it's time, in 2 months, a Bitework thing, a
Yes.
Setwork thing,
Yes.
okay? And
I'm on board.
we're
It
not
was a
going to write.
pleasure. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Not one last question. A couple of people have been asking me, but I want to make sure that that you guys are okay with this too. Is it okay if I take the live that we just did and post it?
If you post it uncut, we have no problem.
Yes.
We
Okay.
like it uncut. You have a problem with that?
Okay.
Or you
Yeah, it'll
prefer
just go
to
on the
watch
YouTube
it?
channel. Very similar to the way the last interview we did months ago, where I just posted it on YouTube. That way, can people, check back on it,
We,
and
we
yeah,
like
I won't edit
interviews.
it.
We like interviews like we did now, unprepared. We love it. We
Hmm.
did not know in which direction it goes. We go with the flow, we call that.
Yeah, spontaneous.
It's just spontaneous. We
Yeah.
know the topic, the top topic. We knew what that was, but we did not speak too much about that. But we did handle it a little bit. And what we should like to tell the whole world is be careful with podcasts and everything, where in this case, I know exactly what I speak about. Michael knows exactly. We did not offend nobody.
Hmm.
We did not offend nobody. We were not brutal to nobody, and nothing can be taken out of context. Nothing.
Right.
So be careful by doing things like that, because there is always one enemy ready to cut off your throat.
Yes.
Always, always,
Yes.
always. And that's why we like it live. That if somebody tapes it and cuts it, that 100 other people can prove and say, hey, 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 it was not like that.
Hmm.
And then imagine that you ask now permission, but somebody else did tape it. What can we do?
Right. That's true. That's
So
true.
thanks for asking. It's very important for me. No problem.
It's okay.
Michael, no problem.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Bart.
We speak.
Well, thank you guys. It
Everybody,
was a
Okay.
pleasure,
thanks for listening.
and we'll
Now
see
we
you
go
guys in
see
the
now
next one.
dogs.
Yeah.
We go let Michael's little black dog bite. She is a nice
Nice.
little doggy. Okay?
Okay.
Nice. All
Hey,
right, guys. Take care.
bye everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye.